Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers in London. Today I'm looking at a book which I thought was really very interesting as a title, and I was fascinated to read more. It's called Negotiating Cultural Rights, and its Issues at Stake, Challenges and Recommendations, which is the subtitle. It's been edited by two people, Lucky Belder and Helle, Porsdam. I hope I've pronounced the names correctly. The book comes to us from Elgar Publishing Limited. It's available both as a hardback printed version book, and it's also available online. Elizabeth and I talked about the book, and she's been the lead writer on this review. And the title we've given our review is Multi-Disciplinary Discussions on Issues of Cultural Rights for the 21st Century. Now let's have a look at the book. There it is. It's the front. It's a thin book, hardback. There's the spine and then there's the back. It runs to not a particularly large number of pages, just over 200. There's the index at the back. It's by page numbering, the index. The authors are Belder is based in Utrecht, and Porsdam is based in Copenhagen. These are as I say, the index is quite helpful because it's quite a detailed one. Then at the back of the index you've got the way it's structured for this publication, because it's an edited book with contributors. Each chapter has its bibliography at the back of the chapter called references, so you should be able to find things fairly easily. That's the front of the book there. Then there's the blurb about how to use the online version. That's the contents section, which gives you the names of the people who contributed to the publication. There are 11 chapters in total, and there's a mini bibliography of each of the, or biography rather, of each of the contributors, of which there are quite a large number. I can't mention them all by name. Then you've got some acknowledgements there. Then you've got the introduction by the two editors, explaining the mandate and this volume, what it's all about. You notice it's got some footnotes at the bottom, and then you've got these references, which are the bibliographical notes for each of the chapters. And the chapters have subheadings and, of course, actual footnotes as well. It's a very detailed book, and it's a very interesting book. So what do we say about it? Well, we've, as I said, we were fascinated by the title alone, and looking at it, this is what we say. Before you even open this book, the very title and subtitle make for slightly depressing reading. Perhaps the thought occurs that the number of countries where cultural rights, however you define them, needn't necessarily be negotiated are in a minority. These are the liberal democracies, and greatly outnumbered they are by what Shakespeare would have referred to as less happier lands. In this dire state of affairs, research handbooks like this become a necessity. And of course that's really all part of the issue, because we are looking at the negotiating cultural rights and trying to identify what we're going to do with them. Whatever Shakespeare may talk about when he talks about less happier lands. Now, this book has been published by Elgar Publishing Limited. They're an independent publisher based in Cheltenham in the UK. And the book contains 12 learned and carefully researched essays, most of them reports by as many international contributors as they could find for this particular area. And as I say, each one of the contributors is mentioned at the beginning. They're all acknowledged experts in their own fields, and as many and varied aspects of cultural rights are of course raised. And for those of you who don't have that much knowledge of this area, it's quite an eye-opener, I have to say. Primarily, the discussions centre on a series of reports on this fraught subject by the United Nations Special Rapporteur Farida Shahid, who is certainly not alone in discerning the unbreakable linkage between cultural rights and human rights. The book reveals in dismaying detail a wide spectrum of cultural rights being violated across a wide spectrum of nation states. And we're reminded in a footnote by Farida Shahid's successor as a UN Special Rapporteur that we should, we would say must, be aware of the diverse forms of fundamentalism and extremism which have now reached devastating proportions in many regimes of the world and have grave repercussions on cultural rights. One of these, and one of the most important, is the right to an education. And that in itself is highly controversial in some areas. It is concerning, therefore, that very little progress in this area has been made worldwide since as early as 1965 at a UNESCO meeting. Professor Boutros Ghali of Cairo University, later the UN Secretary General, asserted, quote, that there is no right to culture without a minimum of education. The person who can neither read nor write and who has not received the most elementary instruction is impervious to true culture. A very interesting observation, in fact a very strong point. Now, further discussed here is the link between culture, education and science. The study of the latter prohibited in most fundamentalist regimes, and this is of course where the problems are. The observation is made that cultural rights are those which relate directly to freedom of thought, conscience and religion. The book sheds much light on these issues and a host of others and their manifold implications, thus making a valuable contribution, in our view, to the ever-continuing international debate and providing much to contemplate for a range of readers, from human rights lawyers to academics, policy makers and students. And I would have thought it would have a general readership application as well, even though it's of a high academic standard, as to be expected by Elgar. It's a sad state of affairs that we've got a book. I said at the beginning, it looks like it's slightly depressing reading, but I think one has to be optimistic about where we're going, because the difficulty here is that there are clearly areas where there has got to be some sort of change and movement. Whether that happens is another matter, but at least the subject is being debated and the issue of education remains at the heart of it. The publication date is cited at the 27th of October 2017, and I'm recording this towards the end of the year. This is the book again. There we go, the spine on the back, and just opening it in the middle. It's only a short book, but I think it's very interesting, and because the contributors come from such a wide range of backgrounds, you're getting a very international approach to what is frankly a very difficult issue. Here's chapter 7. Corporate interests and artistic voices, the Plessner case. Now you can see the structure. You've got paragraph numbering and you've got subheads and so on. But the book goes all the way through, and then of course you've got at the back obviously a statement there, and then right at the end you've got bibliography or references. Whatever the terms, at least that's where you can look things up if you want to do further reading. We've put the review on the web and it should be in the journals as well. A big thank you to the editors and to everybody involved in what is an important issue for the 21st century, and it's not something that's going to go away. So stand by for another edition in due course. Bye bye for now. Bye.